Hi everybody, TJ Mac Finished Cards, and before I get into the cards for today, I just want to do a shout out first of all to the channel Maxa Jackson. He recently completed the T206 520 subject set. It doesn't have the big four cards, which don't, I believe, count as part of the set amongst collectors just because it includes cards like the Honus Wagner and a few other rare cards that would be exorbitant in cost and rarity and just would be too hard to complete the set. But what Maxa Jackson, what he did for his set is to have 520 cards of the T206s all in graded form is just an impressive feat. And I just want to recognize his achievement, and I'm going to put a link down below to his video. He just has over 100 views, which is ridiculous considering the achievement he had there completing such a great set. So I just want to recognize him. And then secondly, I want to wish those that are traveling to the National safe travels. May you find the cards on your wish list and also have a chance to hang out with other YouTubers in the community. I've been seeing a lot of videos. Don Field of Dreams had one the other day where he was showing off a video of all the folks that he connected with throughout the YouTube community. So Don gave me this stand, and I just want to, again, wish him safe travels and look forward to seeing what he picks up. And then lastly, I just want to thank those that commented on my last video and watched where I showed off my card room. I don't talk much about myself in my videos. I don't show myself. I'm a private person, just with my work, and just a person that just wants privacy. That's just how I am. But I do have friends in the community that I do text and communicate with, and I enjoy sharing cards and things like that. But I did want to reveal that one aspect of my collecting because I do talk about my card room and different displays that I do and things like that. So now when you watch my videos and I speak to the different themes and displays, you get some idea how my room is laid out. And I do appreciate the comments that talked about how it's a room that has sports cards in it, which is really what I'm going for. I don't really want to have a man cave per se. That was a little clickbaity for me to put it that way. It's more just a room that has these cases that are displayed that show off cards. It's very much a functional room that my family gets to enjoy, and I just wanted it set up in a way that has an artistic feel to it and shows off the history of the cards that I enjoy. So thanks for the comments, and I appreciated those that watched. So again, thank you. So today I'm talking more about what I love about my vintage card collection, and it's these themes that I like to put together that are very much a part of how I collect, especially now how my collection has evolved. And Willie, Mickey, and the Duke is obviously one of the great trios of players in sports history that are forever linked together. There was a song about him in the early 80s done by Terry Cashman that I remember growing up, and that was really one of my early exposures to the three of them. So I have always had them linked together, and it's really cool when you can have that reflected in your card collection. Now, I do have some cards of them from the 50s when they were playing for their teams of the New York Giants, the Yankees, where Mantle played his whole career, of course, and the Brooklyn Dodgers, where the Duke played in the 1950s until 1957. And that's really cool to have, but I also think it's cool to have this representation, their last three Topps cards. And you can see on their cards, they're all depicted with New York teams, which is really cool as well. And this maze was one of the first 10 cards I picked up when I got back in the hobby in 2000. I probably paid like $12 for it, which was good for me at the time, just starting my career out and having a very limited budget. And the Mantle was the first base Mantle that I picked up graded. And I always liked the 69 Topps set and liked this depiction of him in the set. And then, of course, you got the Duke here on the Mets. Now, as I stated, all three began their careers in New York. Duke actually played his last season on the San Francisco Giants, but there isn't a Topps card depicting him on that team. Now, much is made about Mantle having his last big season in 1964 when he was 32 years old. But did you know that Duke Snider had his last big season when he was just 30 years old in 1957, the last year the Dodgers were in Brooklyn? Now, he had some other good years, but he never again had a big year. He never played more than 129 games, had over 23 home runs, or more than 88 RBIs. So again, a lot of people make much to do about Mantle being pretty much done as a superstar at the age of 32, but the Duke was actually no longer a superstar player at the age of 30. But again, these cards are just great to have together. Keeping with my theme of playing days cards towards the end of players' careers, we have Terry Sawchuk here on the 69 O-Pee-Chee, which is his last playing days card. He died in 1970 and had a tribute card in the O-Pee-Chee set, but this would be his last card as a player. You have Glenn Hall in 1970 O-Pee-Chee, his last playing days card. And then this is Jacques Plante at the end here, 1972 Topps. He had a couple cards in the WHA, but this is his last NHL playing days card. Now, these are three of the, in my view, the top 10 goalies of all time in NHL history, and it's really cool to have them together. When Sawchuk retired, he was number 1 all-time in wins. Plante was number 2, and Hall was number 3. Both Sawchuk and Plante are still 8th and 9th on the wins list, and Hall is 11th. There are 13 goalies ever with over 400 wins, and you're looking at 3 of them right here. Sawchuk is still 2nd all-time with 103 shutouts. Hall is 4th with 84, and Plante is 5th with 82. 3 wonderful examples of goaltending legends, and they played in the era when goalies didn't wear masks. So how they're looking on these cards is how they would have looked when they were playing. Now, I do know that Hall never wore a mask. Plante did wear a mask at times, and I believe Sawchuk may have as well, but most of their careers were played without a mask. Here we have 4 cards that just show what I love about the artistic appeal of cards, and I'm going to go through each of these 4, starting with the Ron Santo. 62 Topps, I know, is not at the top of everybody's list as their favorite sets, but this is a set that I just love the look of. The wood grain border really speaks to me. And when you get cards that have nice pops of colors on the uniforms, that wood grain border really enhances them. Particularly the ones that have touches of blue on them, like you can see here with the Santo on his sleeves and then on his cap there. It really makes the card pop when you have those touches of blue to go along with the brown wood grain border. And that's what attracted me to this Santo card. Of course, Santo's a Hall of Fame third baseman with the Cubs and the White Sox. And I just love the look of this card. It displays so nicely and is one that I was thrilled to add to my collection when it became available with such a nice example. I believe some of these also have the green tint on them, which from an artistic standpoint and display standpoint, I don't care for those. This one is so vibrant that I really think it shows well. Now, right next to him, you have the Billy Williams here. And this is another one where 76 Topps is such an underappreciated set for color because the 75 set preceded it, which was such a colorful design. But they had did an excellent job in 76 with color coordination. And this Billy Williams card shows that. I think it's one of the finest examples of it in the set, with the yellow Oakland A's uniform with the green sleeves and the yellow cap, and just how it goes with the banner underneath with the in green with his name, and then the yellow banner on the bottom with the A's team shown in it. And it had the nice little touches of the yellow going around the player image on the bottom there, and then the inset yellow as well. This card just, again, spoke to me when I saw it. I have most of the Stars and Hall of Famers from this set already graded, but when I saw this on For Sharp Corner's website, I realized I didn't have it, and I'm like, wow, from an artistic standpoint, what an exceptionally put together card. Now here's another example where vibrant color can enhance an image, where we showed the Ron Santo and it had the brown border that enhanced the color within the image. This 55 Bowman card has vibrant color throughout it. And this is a tough issue for centering, and I really chose this example, even though it might not be the best centered. It's not miscut in any way, which is, those are the cards I don't target, but if they're somewhat off-centered, I'm fine with that, especially in tougher issues like the 55 Bowman for centering. What I love here is you have this vibrant purple background, and I say these players look almost angelic because you have this white, kind of cloudy white around the image that really enhances the image from within, and then you got that, again, vibrant color around it, the team logo, and then it's encased in a white border. Just a beautiful, beautiful card. These Bowmans are just something special to look at. and I love to display the cards I have from this set in my card room. And then at the end here, we have the Marcel Dion from the 73 Topps hockey set, which I think is a very underrated issue. And when you can find, again, examples that have very beautiful corners on them that don't have a lot of wear on them, they really show well because they have that colored border. And especially the ones that have the yellow border, and if you match it up with a great color on the sweater of the player, like this Red Wings one, this card just pops. Love this Marcel Dion. Of course, a legendary player with the Red Wings and the Kings. One of the top 10 scorers in NHL history. And just love the look of this card. So you can see here 4 different examples of how colors enhance the cards and just really enhance the pleasure you get viewing them. They're just beautiful cards, and I just really appreciate this era from the history standpoint, but as well from the visual standpoint. Another area where I've been focusing quite a bit of my collecting on is those uncommon, common players, I call them, even though, like I said, a lot of them were star players of their era. And when I was growing up, Steve Garvey was really the face of baseball in the National League, and somebody that's not in the Hall of Fame, but I think should be. He had 6 200-hit seasons. He was a 74 MVP. In 55 playoff games, he batted .338 with 11 home runs and 38 RBIs. He was a 2-time NLCS MVP and won a World Series in '81. Steve Garvey delivered in the big moments, which is something that I appreciate as a sports fan. So the magazines have really enhanced my collecting experience. I've talked about this before, but just look at these 2 together here. You have this sport magazine from 1975 with the red, white, and blue flags on it and the pie. And then you see here noted on the cover, Apple Pie, the flag, and Steve Garvey. And he was somebody that was, looked up to at that time. I know he had some issues later on in his career, but at that time he was somebody that was really looked up to highly within baseball. And you have here the 78 Topps that I'm showing with it, and it's got the red, white, and blue shield. What a great display here of patriotism and baseball, which is baseball synonymous with America and just in the fabric of our culture. So it's really cool to have these 2 together in this magazine and card. Another player here that just has a great story that is not in the Hall of Fame, but he was an outstanding player of his time, is Larry Brown. He was a 2-time first-team All-Pro, NFL MVP in 1972, and he was the first known player in the NFL to have hearing loss. Brown was deaf in 1 ear. He played for the Redskins from 1969 to 1976 as a running back. And it was in 1969 when he was drafted that Brown's head coach, Vince Lombardi, who coached the Redskins that year, noticed that Brown would often tilt his head to listen and stand close to his teammates to hear what he was saying. So Lombardi, being the outstanding leader he was, he just had immense emotional intelligence. He asked for Brown to have his hearing tested. And Brown was worried that if they found out he was hard of hearing, that he'd be kicked off the team. But he wasn't dropped. Soon after his hearing examination, he was given permission to wear a hearing aid in his helmet. And Larry Brown went on to have a successful career, and some believe he has a compelling Hall of Fame case. He was a 4-time All-Pro running back over his career, and he won the league MVP in 1972. He led the NFL in rushing with 1,125 yards in 1970 and 1,689 total yards in 1972. Now, compared to Hall of Fame running backs of the 60s and 70s, Brown had more career rushing yards than Gale Sayers, at 58.75 to 49.56, more rushing touchdowns than Frank Gifford, who played in the 50s and the 60s, 35 to 34, and more yards from scrimmage than John Henry Johnson, who's also in the Hall of Fame. Larry Brown had 8,360 yards, and Johnson had 8,281 yards. So you can see that he has a pretty good case. He definitely wasn't better than Gale Sayers, but it's just to make a point that you don't necessarily have to play a long time, especially in football, to be a Hall of Famer. And what I like is that in this era, you can really appreciate how these cards were recognized, and that's part of the history of the game. I mean, I go through my father-in-law's magazine. Here's a cover from Sport Magazine in '72. Here's another one from Complete Sports from 1972 with Larry Brown on the cover. Here's a '73 yearbook that shows Larry Brown on the cover. So he was somebody that was very well regarded in the day, and I just love having him represented in my collection. And what's cool here on the 73 or 75 Topps card, this is a PSA 9, just a, wow, gorgeous, gorgeous card. But he was deaf, and I just find, again, from that artistic standpoint, photographic standpoint, that you can see here everything's blurred in the background, and he almost looks, you know, like he's alone in this picture because the background of the fans are all blurred out. And to me, it's kind of a symbol of maybe what he would have felt as somebody that was partially deaf, and how he may have felt alone at the time and just kind of scared for his career. So this card really symbolizes that to me whenever I look at it, and it's one that I looked for and a very nice example to add in my collection, and I'm glad I got it. So that's all I have for today. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Sorry I went over a little over 15 minutes, but I wanted to showcase what I love about my collection and do those shout outs. So everybody have a great weekend and take care.